So, warm good morning. We are indeed privileged to have Mr. Vijaya Raghavan here with us today. On behalf of the entire MITS family, let me wholeheartedly welcome you to our midst. And for bringing him to our midst, let me again thank our Executive Director, Sri P. George Verghese, who was instrumental because they are close associates, and I was asking him for quite some time to explore the possibility of bringing Vijaya Raghavan sir here, and sir has taken the initiative, and that is why he is here today. Thank you, sir, for the initiative. And a brief about the college for the benefit of our guest. We had a discussion in the morning, but then MITS got established in 2013. And we started off with 5 branches in undergraduate course in engineering. Initially, we were affiliated to the Mahatma Gandhi University, and when the APJ Abdul Kalam University started, our affiliation got shifted there. Now 5 batches have passed out from the college. Our 9th batch has entered the college this year. Their induction program is going on. We have currently 1,500 students in the campus for BTech programs, and we have 2 MTech programs. And we also have a lot of faculty members who are supervisors of the university as PhD supervisors. So we have currently a strength of 105 faculty members, and our faculty student ratio is one of the best in the state currently. And we have, as I said, we have interdisciplinary programs also initiated last year, one in AI and data science and other in cybersecurity. And we have of late initiated a center for promoting consultancy, entrepreneurship and innovation, which I think you met him, Dr. Suresh. He is heading the center. And the performance of the college, as you might have also observed, is though we started late, we are now competing with the best in the state. In fact, when the last 2 years, when our Abdul Kalam University came out with their performance results, we stood second only to CET. CET is an 80-year-old college last year. And in the it's not just in the overall pass percentage, but in terms of the academic performance index, which they evaluate based on the grades attained by the students and the overall performance of the students, we were in the top 5. So we have been consistently doing that. And as we believe here, we don't like to rest on our laurels. So definitely we would like to improve consistently every year. And that's the philosophy with which we try to run this institution. Another worthy mention is because like when our eligibility for applying for accreditation is when our 2 of our batches pass out. And we are probably the only institute in the state where we could apply for accreditation immediately after our 2 batches passed out. And our 4 departments have currently been accredited with, again, one of the best scores in the state. In the scores that we attained in the accreditation process, I think none of the government colleges also have got so far. So these are some of the creditable achievements. Another thing which I forgot to mention again is last year we got into the NIRF rankings also. So we are only college in the private sector to get into the NIRF rankings. So good beginnings. But as I said, we definitely have room for improvement. We believe in going forward with that vision. So, and that is with those initiatives that people like you, when you come and talk to us, will be able to make a big difference in all of us. And I hope sir doesn't need any introduction because he's one of the most popular figures as a technocrat in the state of Kerala. He is the founder, for those who are not familiar, he's the founder of one of the biggest technology parks in India. And in fact, the first technology park, the Techno Park, which all Keralites should be proud of. I don't really know whether we should be proud of now. Sir will tell you more about that. But the first technology park, that concept itself when it was launched, in fact, I remember the tagline, the greenest technopolis in the country, and how he was able to attract some of the major companies to the Technopark campus. And what a beautiful campus. I hope most of you have visited there and the facilities there. And based on that, so many other initiatives. We have one info park in Cochin and a cyber park in Calicut. He was also an active member of the planning board, Kerala State Planning Board, which lays down the ground rules for governance and the vision for the state. So he was a member of the planning board, and he is the one who started off the National Institute of Speech and Hearing in Trivandrum, of which we had the opportunity recently to be part of a faculty product development. 2 of our departments could submit interesting products there and get it validated. And so many such initiatives. He initiated the business school in Technopark. Then Trivandrum International School. He's associated with consultancy in various industries. He's also part of the Suntech group. Yes. So many initiatives, and he's a popular figure when active discussions on the state of Kerala, the future of Kerala happens on television channels. He's so sound credentials with a lot of visionary ideas, talking to youngsters, talking to industry, talking to government. So with your behalf, on your behalf, again, on behalf of the entire MITS family, let me once again welcome you, sir, to our MITS, and the stage is yours. Use this or? Yeah. Yeah. Fan show.
Yeah. Thank you, Verghese, for inviting me to be with all of you here. Even though I have not visited this institution, I have spoken about it in multiple forums, mainly because I've been one of those who've been supporting private colleges in a big way. But one of the biggest problems with private colleges has been the intention of those who start colleges. And if you really look at it, the institutions around the world which have done exceptionally well are mainly private institutions. But those were institutions which were not set up for the promoters to make money. Wherever promoters have wanted to make money, even in the country, you will see that those colleges have failed. So, I have a bit of an allergy on some dust here. Sorry. So one of the things which, that is one thing which attracted me to this institute, because when I was looking at institutions and when your initial admission processes came out and I was talking to students around, I did get a feel that you are taking students not based on their paying capacity, but on merit. That is something which actually helped me to feel better about this institution. So when we were looking at this thing, and when I was in the board, also when otherwise when you look at colleges, Muthoot stands out in a way, and I think that is one of the reasons it does. The other one was when I talk to students as part of interviewing process, etc., you find that there are a lot of activities which they get involved in. So, and then while meeting with George Verghese once or twice in between, he told me that there's a free hand given by the management, and definitely I don't think the group needs to be making money here. They're making money elsewhere enough. So probably is a place where they spend it, which is the legacy that you leave behind. So when you look at the top universities like Stanford, or even if you look at Manipal in India, all those or BITS, they were all set up by large business houses purely with the intent to give back to society. One of the things which I talk to when I talk to students, and I think it's necessary, I mentioned it to all of you also, is that all of us are very lucky people. Okay? Many of us got good education. Most of us got good education. All of you here, most of you have either done your MTech or your PhD. Okay? But you're very lucky because less than 20% in this country go beyond class 12. And then a much smaller percentage go beyond class 10. Class degree. So that way we are all lucky, and we should remember that in a way, even if you studied in a totally private institution, your education was funded by a large number of people who could not afford or did not have the opportunity to get that. Which is why that social commitment is required in all the at least those who have benefited from that, which includes all of you who are in this hall and includes all the students who are here. When I talk to students, what I tell them, and that is something which again as a teachers, it's important for you, is that when I talk to them, I generally ask a question. Every interview I do that, and people now, many of them know what that I'll ask that kind of a thing is, what will you do with your first salary? All right. You'll be surprised that a lot of them talk about blowing it up with their friends, or they talk about buying something, or some of them talk about repaying a loan. But in the last 1.5 years, I find a lot of them are talking about giving it to their parents. So the next question I ask them are, who are the two people whom you will never be able to repay? And one, of course, is parents, and the other is teachers. But as teachers, you need to remember that parents don't have to earn it. Teachers have to earn it. So the thing is that a teacher, if the teacher needs to earn it, should be a teacher who's really contributed to that individual's growth. And for you and for your students, you will find that there are certain teachers whom you look up to. Not because they were the best teacher, but they're a teacher who contributed to your growth. Contributed to you becoming what you are in some form or the other. And that is important for you to look at. How do I help this person? How do I support him in his or her growth? I remember in college, I did have a good relationship with most of my teachers. With some we were not very. But I remember that when there used to be in the electrical engineering department, Professor Shenoy, and the number of times he's thrown me out of the lab are so high. Told me to go out because, we were in the hostel. The hostel block was just 200 meters away from the college. You go there and there's a little bit of time. Lie down shoes. We forget to wear the shoe while coming to the lab and we'll say out. There's no compromise there, electrical lab. And, we used to have nicknames for him, etc. But, a year or so after passing out from college, I went there. And he saw me. He was so happy. Even earlier he was happy. But after that, he walked with me till the bus stand. You should remember that I did not have this position that I had. I was just a sales engineer somewhere. He walked with me till the bus stand. And I thought he was actually going to take a bus somewhere. He was not. He came with me just to see me off. But the thing is that is the kind of regard that they had for us. The advantage you have compared to a government college, that this is where you start or you came in with a particular level and you continue here for several years. In government colleges, you are teaching in 1 year, the next year you're going somewhere else. That relationship is important. And the relationship is important because if you look around the world, alumni contribute heavily for the growth of the institution after a certain period of time. Which is why strong alumni associations are there in most organizations around the world. And that cannot be done by the principal or the management. It is something which is done by the faculty. And that can only happen if the faculty get the regard and respect that they earn. I don't want to use the word deserve, that they earn. And this is something which I think each of you will need to keep in mind as you interact with students. One of the things which you will see in the last 10, 15 years, and that's not just in the software area, in every area, you will find that continuous learning is becoming more and more important. With the continuous change in syllabi, etc., you cannot do what teachers did in the past of teaching with their own notes. Okay, we had some very good teachers and in the first year and all, the seniors would come and tell us, okay, so you need to ensure that you cannot be predictable that way. And the thing is, the professor would come and give that joke and nobody will laugh because they already heard it earlier. After some time, he realized this and then he he called up the senior fellow and said, "Ini thaneke joke varanengiyan sessional koraikkum." So the thing is that you need to be clear that you have to be continuously improving in what you do. So this is something which is important for you, and you have to imbibe in students that continuous learning mindset. Because I say, whether it's the software industry or the automobile industry, wherever you are today, the day you stop learning is the day you start growing within that organization. And if you are stagnant in that organization, you will be out of the organization very fast. So this is something which you need to get into the students. And that the only way by doing that is for you to do it. The other one which we should remember, and this is something which I think a lot of teachers have the ego doesn't allow them to admit that I don't know something when students ask about it. And many a time you have students who come to ask questions to teachers which they think the teacher doesn't know about. And when they see the teacher being a bit embarrassed that I can't answer that question, that student gains something out of it. You don't have to worry. You have to say, I don't know, but I'll get back to you. That is something which they will explain. And the next day, don't forget to come back and explain out what is there. If these are things which you can do, you will automatically earn the respect of the students. Actually, I had come prepared to talk about a lot of other things, but in the first 15-20 minutes here, I asked some questions and the answers were probably what I was telling you should try to be doing. All right? In terms of an incubator, in terms of taking on research projects, etc. There's no point in talking about that. So that's why I thought I'll talk about values in other areas. One of the things which I think is necessary for you all is you need to be starting to think very big. There is this thing which talks about out-of-the-box thinking. But today, that out-of-the-box thinking is completely out. People are actually talking of an exponential impact on what you do. The exponential impact is how do you make what you are doing 10 times more effective than what it was earlier, or 10 times cheaper than what it was earlier, 10 times more efficient than what it was earlier. Now, how can a teacher you would always say that, look, teaching is teaching. How can I make it 10 times more effective? 10 times more effective will be make it into partnership with the students, and you get 5 or 10 of your students together and you start working on it, it becomes much more effective than what it is earlier. So that exponential impact on what you do, and this is more so with the projects that are taken up. One of the things on projects you find is there are many projects which get completed and you don't blame the student for it, because the students generally come in with a mindset of, I need to do this because I have some marks for that. And they stop it at that. But the faculty member who is driving that project needs to see, how do I take it to the next level? Which is where the incubator that you have in the college today, the kind of support that is being given for entrepreneurship, etc., will come into play. So how do you make that exponential impact in whatever you do would be an important thing for each of you to be constantly looking at. I would also say that there is generally the other one which I normally tell now, and when I talk to policymakers and others, and which you should keep in mind. When I was studying, before that when George Verghese was studying, and maybe some of the senior people here were studying, the only thing which engineering did for us was actually look at our logical problem-solving skills. Unfortunately, today, the syllabus has changed in a manner by which that is not being focused on. But as faculty members, you can actually use the same focus. You can look at the same syllabus and focus on their logical and reasoning skills. This is important because nobody is taking somebody because they know something which the company wants. 95% of the time, a person who is recruited by any company, software, hardware, automobile, civil, is not that they know what the company wants. All they're looking at is, does this person know what that person is supposed to know? One. And the second one is, does this person have the problem-solving skills? And today, over the last decade or so, we look at, is this person a continuous learner? Today, when you employ or you recruit fresh computer science people or any other branch, everybody says, I learned Python. Because somewhere somebody started telling Python is good, so people start thinking that's what you're going to get a job for. I don't think you should get your students, nothing wrong in learning Python, nothing wrong in learning other databases or Oracle or any of those things, no. But the thing is, you're telling them, you're giving them the fundamentals. You need to focus on the fundamentals of each of those subjects in such a manner that they can build up on that, whatever comes their way. That mindset is what you need to build into the students. And, many a time you will find it's sad, but, not too many civil engineers I recruit now, but in the, maybe about 5-6 years ago, it used to be a common thing to look at a lot of civil engineers who would join the software industry or in others. And a standard question to them, especially from Kerala, is, what do you know about the Idiki Dam? And you would normally, I would say half of them would say it's an arch dam. The other half know it is there and they'll say it's for power supply, electricity generation. They don't know that it's an arch dam. When you tell them to draw, any civil engineering faculty here? Good, okay. So you tell them to draw the plan of that. And I just tell them, just give me a top view and you will show the arch is shown. My next question is, on which side is the water? You'll be surprised that 75% of them get the water on the wrong side. Why? And the thing is that you don't need to learn this, okay? It's common sense, okay? I'm not a civil engineer, but the thing is that that mindset is what our education today is not giving the students. Okay? The same with electrical, you pull up, which is phase and neutral, how do you find out? Okay? All very simple things which are there, commonsensical things. And that is something where I think the syllabus has changed or been diluted in such a manner that we are creating people for what the industry wants. And we are not creating engineers anymore. So this is something which, as faculty, you can make a change. You don't have to change the syllabus. They can ask the same questions, okay? But you can very clearly change the way they think and the way they will look at problems and how they will solve problems. That is one big change that if you can make, you will actually create a new generation of engineers. Other than those, including some of you who would have passed out in the last 5 to 10 years, you would see that your problem-solving capabilities are not as good as those which were earlier period. The reason for that, I would blame the education system that we've gone through. I think even today for computer science, you don't have foundry or carpentry and on the first year. They have it now? Okay, good. In between, they had stopped.
No, it was there, but they have diluted slightly.
So we remember survey. First year we had marks. Second year, we didn't even have 7 sessional marks, but we had that. To the extent that somebody was a group captain in the Air Force now. So once there is no marks for it, then nobody takes interest. So there's a question which this professor asked theodolite, and he said, if theodolite is instrument with which any policeman can find any angle on the edge. And the professor felt and he was just, not a professor, he was just, at that time it was lecturers. He felt very insulted. He came to class and he really said, you're doing this, you have to do this thing, but if you don't respect us in that manner, there is a problem. That was because there were no marks for it. So you need to find ways of getting them interested and taking it forward. I thought I'll just share these thoughts with you. How much time have I taken? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll just talk about one or two more things, and then we'll open up for questions. Okay. So I've told you about what I think you will need to do as teachers for this thing. The second one, which I briefly mentioned here, is that you also need to be part of the larger society. And in that, I would say, look at your, I did talk about your principal and the ED when I was talking to them earlier, the locality where you come from. Talk to people there to find out what the pain points are. Find out what are the big problems they have there. It could be a livelihood problem. It could be a water problem. It could be a drainage problem. It could be some other problem. It could be a garbage disposal problem. But as engineers, how can you work with them or work with your students to create a solution for that problem? Okay, this will be more of an outreach kind of a thing. And I think because you have a management which is generally supportive of a lot of them, they will find it positive for you to be working on those areas. So I would say start thinking on how you can make a social impact because of what you are, the kind of education you've got, and the student base that you have with you. The other one which I think you should be doing, and I think some of you are already doing it, is you take on consultancy contracts with various institutions. Try to see how you can take that up further. The advantage you have that you're in Cochin is you've got institutions like NPOL. You have a lot of the fisheries institutions here. You've got a lot of industry. You've got enough software companies. Think of what you can do for them. And I would say, I can tell you that the private sector, if you can go to them with proposals on solving some of their pain points, which could be a pain point for their customer, but it can't be that I'll take 4 years and then I'll tell you what will happen. No. These are all things which have to be solved in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months kind of a thing. If you can work on those, you probably will actually earn for your institution, for yourself, much more than you otherwise earn. So I would say start looking out for problems. Now then there's always a question of, there's a typical mindset that many of us have is that, oh, I've got so many periods, that is what I need to do. After that, where's the time for all that? I need to go back. No, don't keep that in mind. You will always find the time if you want to look at doing things which are beyond what is expected from you as a faculty member of an institution. And you should look at that each of those will substantially add value to you as an individual and to your students. And many a time you might end up becoming remembered for that rather than for your having been teaching somewhere. I'll stop with the NPOL. Every year, even now, when they give an advertisement on one of their days, they talk about something called the APSO sonar. APSO sonar, they talk about, even today they talk about it. It was something which was invented by them and produced maybe 3-4 decades ago. Okay? And the person who was behind that was a person called Dr. Paul Raj. I had the privilege of working with Dr. Paul Raj when I was in CDAC. He was my director there. He was a Commodore in the Indian Navy. And he used to work in NPOL and he did this. But that is something which he's remembered for, and when he comes, if you go to NPOL, you'll see his name there. He was not director, but his name will be there. But for him today, what he's known for is he owns most of the patents for 5G. The 5G which we are talking about today, many of those patents are owned by him. And he was a professor at Stanford. He continues to be an emeritus professor at Stanford. After he left the Navy, he was with CDAC and Central Research Labs. Then he went back to Stanford and he continued his work there. He studied in the Naval Academy. Then he studied at IIT Delhi, did his PhD. He joined the Navy. I'm just telling you of the kind of impact that you can make with some. So the other person I talk about, and I mean, actually, I should give you that link with Technopark there, is I was working with Dr. Paul Raj when I had to go to the US on some work for CDAC. at the same time that Nayanar and Gauriamma and Baby John were going. And I was told to help out in arranging a program. So I told Dr. Paul Raj, and he arranged with Professor Thomas Kailath, another Malayali, Thomas Kailath, and said they'll come. So Thomas Kailath agreed to take us around. So I took, so looking at our program for that visit to Silicon Valley was visit to Stanford University, visit to Apple factory. So Nayanar was with us, and seeing this program, the embassy shared this with N.D. Tiwari. Not a very famous guy now, infamous now, but shared with N.D. Tiwari, who was then the chief minister of UP, which was a single state at that time. And Tiwari asked whether he can come. And the embassy guy was scared. He didn't know what to do because communist chief minister, this guy is a... So the embassy, the consul general came and told me, N.D. Tiwari is asking whether he can come. So I said, I don't have a problem. I've arranged it. I don't have, but I need to ask the CM. So I asked Nayanar and I told, CM N.D. Tiwari kuda vanna. India vitta pinna nammal oru party, nammal Indians are. Avada poya Congress CPM, but nammal Indians are. So when I'm telling you this is just, we went there, so he was with us. We were walking through, and Professor Kailath took us around. Professor Kailath was given the Padma Bhushan a few years ago. Even Paul Raj was given the Padma Bhushan a few years ago. Professor Kailath also got the National Science Medal from President Obama. So Thomas Kailath was taking us around, and he said, oh, this person who went, he's a Nobel Prize from that year. This person, I don't know if you've heard, I've mentioned this many times, but that building has a Nobel laureate in this subject from that year. After some time, Nayanar told me, ഇവിടെ ഈ നോബലന്മാരെ തൊട്ട് നമുക്ക് നടക്കാൻ പറ്റും, നാട്ടിൽ തൂത്ത് പറക്കിയ ഒരു തന്നെ കിട്ടൂല. Okay, so the thing why I'm telling you this is not that, okay, we don't have the capability for it. Okay, I've been looking at, and you look at, there are a couple of people, and there's this Venki Ramakrishnan. In fact, I just wrote about him a few weeks ago. I do a column in Toil Vidi now for, you all don't need to look at it. It's mainly for those who are writing the PSC exams and all that. But Venki Ramakrishnan's, his basic degree is physics. He then did an MSc in physics. He went to the US and did his PhD from one of the best universities. And then he went to one of the University of California after his PhD to do his MS. After PhD, he went to do his MS. In what subject? Chemistry. And you know what he got his Nobel in? Biology. Okay? Why I'm telling you is that don't get confined to the shell in which you have been put today. I'm using the word put, okay? It would have been put by your teachers, your parents, maybe here you are told you are civil engineering department. There is nothing which prevents a civil engineering department person to think electronics. There is nothing which prevents an electronics person to think about civil engineering. And nothing for them to collaborate to do something jointly. It is that strength, and that is something which you will find in IITs. Many of the IITs you will find it, universities across the world you will find it. I would say that if, I know you, I'm told that there are multiple people who've got patents here. Look at articles in refereed journals internationally. You have an IEEE chapter here? Yes, student chapter, good. So look at IEEE publications. Try to see where, not enough to have a chapter, but look at how do you get into IEEE, how do you get your articles into IEEE publications. So I would say you need to set a benchmark for yourself. Not comparing with CET or TKM or even IIT Madras. If each of you can set up a benchmark for yourself, comparing with some of the best universities in the world, and look at people there, try to talk to them. I can tell you professors around the world are very happy to talk to people from India and other countries, okay? Many professors want to come here and work for a short period of time. So if you establish that contact, individual to individual first, slowly move that to department, and at some point of time, maybe it can be institution, even if it is not institution, it's okay. Institution will mean a lot of costs being borne. But if it is individual to individual and department to department, you can do all that, get all the advantages, except that you can't put the logo of that university on your brochure or something. But that's okay. You have them come and take a class here. The value add that you will do to yourself and to your students is high. I'm sure many of you would have classmates or your professors who are today in universities around the world. Talk to them and find out. There are very few universities in the world where you will not find a Malayali professor. And you can find a way to get through to them. The assessment tool for autism. She's in her 70s. So I wanted to talk to her. So I told somebody in the office, just search the UCLA thing to find out any Indians or Malayalis. And there were 4 or 5 names which came, and I actually wrote to them saying that I'm planning to visit LA. I would like to visit, and I want to meet a couple of people, including so-and-so. If I say just to meet this person, then there'll be a block. They arranged for my visit. I went there, met this person. She came down 2 years ago. She gave a talk. She saw the work we are doing. She was happy with it. She said, what can I do? And I said, if you can come and train my people on using this tool, because the training costs over 2 lakh rupees per person. It's about $5,000, 5,000, 3 lakhs, 3 lakhs rupees per person. If you can do that, it'll be good. And she said, okay, but when I come for that, you need to pay me business class fare. Because if this time she came on her own last time and we paid her only economies. I said, okay. And she would have come 2 years ago, but now I don't even have to pay that because she's getting a Fulbright scholarship to come. The other thing which I will conclude with is look at countries which are target countries. So on the mechanical side, automotive side, Germany is a target country. Do you have any relationship with Germany that's been built up? Okay. So I'll help you to build that up with, I am the chairman of the Indo-German Cultural Center. We run the Goethe Center, and the German language classes here are done with them. If there is an interest to do German classes here, language classes?
Yes. That we are doing.
Through whom? Who's doing it for you?
My law. One trainer from Delhi, Sanchori, she's a German trainer.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'll put you in touch with the honorary consul general is Saeed Ibrahim. He's the director of the Goethe Center in Trivandrum. I'm the chairman of that. So that we'll put. So why I'm telling this in Germany, for example, you will find a lot of Malayalis there. Okay, in various institutions, and you can build up that relationship. And multiple governments have, just like Fulbright scholarships, there are international visitor programs in the US. There are UK programs that are available. There are German programs that are available for collaboration. It only means you need to be recognized in an area where they have an interest. The way to do that is to work typical reverse engineering. You find out the universities you want to get connected with. You find out the areas of interest that they have. And then you create an interest in that area if you have it, and then do a reverse engineering there. And you will find that is it. I will just conclude with one thing which is not very nicely spoken about professors, but I need to tell that because I would expect none of you to go to that level. This is an incident which happened about 7 or 8 years ago. A good friend of mine from the US called me and said, there's this professor who wants to talk to 2 students in one of the universities in Kerala. And I said, let me tell him to talk to me, I'll find out. So he called up and he said, look, I found 2 very young PhD scholars who are doing some exceptional work. And I want to be interacting with them. Can you arrange? I said, I will. And I called up, I found out, I spoke to both of them, I put them in touch. They were in correspondence. And then this person there, he actually sent them an invitation to visit the US for a certain period of time, both of them, certain period of time. And when there was a very major conference happening in that area, in the area that we were working in. I'm not talking about the area, then you'll identify the university. In that area. And he said, we want to take you, all expenses paid. And he said that I have an ulterior motive there, is that if they come and they become interested in what we are doing, I want them to come as postdoctoral fellows to the US. I said, great. Do whatever support is required, do. And I said, if they need a little bit of money, I'll arrange it to the Science and Technology, State Committee on Science and Technology pays people to travel abroad. Not big money, small money is there. 2 weeks later, he calls me up and he doesn't use bad language, but he's totally upset and he's shouting. And he says, what are you doing? I said, hold on, tell me what the problem is. He said, look, we sent the invitation and they said the invitation has to go to the university through the head of the department. And we get a reply back saying that the head of the department will come. Okay? So remember, just like you want credit for what you do, give your students the credit for what they do. Nothing wrong in adding your name to the paper. But please don't insist that the credit comes fully to you. Don't take away what is meant for somebody else. And then I called up this, one guy said, Sare, pona prasnamella, enikini 6 maasam ullu, poya kittula PhD. Others say, I've submitted the defense vareyana, angere enna ready aakum. They didn't go. I don't know whether they went after that. But the thing is that please give credit to your students. Okay? There is nothing you lose. You've already reached your level. Give them the credit. You can add your name because you've contributed to their papers, or you can add your name. But that is something you must do. You have to encourage a new group of people to come up. And there is no professor who's ever lost out because their students grew. Okay, as their students grow, they will still consider you as their teacher. There is no way that can be taken away from them. Don't take away something which is due to someone else. Okay? So thank you very much, and I'm open to some questions if you have any, and then we can. Please feel free to ask me anything which there. Like I told you, if I can answer, I'll do that. If I can't, I'll find the answer and get back to you.
So your thoughts on setting new benchmarks and for ourselves, because one interesting thing about this college is, because it started late, most of us have worked in some other college. And we have legacies, definitely. But then once we come here, we have tried to set a new way forward, so that we need to think differently. As you rightly said, it cannot be just like emulating some other institution. So the thoughts on building professor to professor tie-ups, department to department tie-ups are all well taken. We are trying to do that, but definitely would like to involve your help also, if possible, wherever. As you said, in the case of Germany, in fact, we have been talking to Dad also. So, and some of our students, in fact, from mechanical, most of them are in some of the best universities in Germany already. A good number of them.
No fees for higher education.
Yeah, higher education. And they are really keen also.
Germany now, I mean, this return, Germany is actually opening up for talent.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Very easy to go to this or to pass their examination. If you want, I don't know whether they have the capacity because they're running full now, but can get them to.
Sure. And another thing is, like you mentioned about NP oil, and in fact, Cochin, we are blessed with so many such industries which are doing well, and research organizations also. In fact, right now we have some NP oil is coming out in a big way. Previously, they didn't encourage BTech students for their projects, but of late, because of the 75th year of independence, they have in fact invited 4 of our batches to do internships there, internships during their final year. And now we have 2 ongoing projects with NP oil also from the department side. Again, similar other institutions, we have QME here, of which we are trying to collaborate, Carborundum. BPCL is just across the road. So opportunities, I would like to have your thoughts on faculty internships as well as faculty startups, if you can add something to it. Yeah.
I talked to you about Dr. Paul Raj. When I met him about 8 or 9 years ago when I had gone to the US, at that point of time, he was taking only 25% of his salary from the university. Because he said, I'm spending only 25% of the time for the university. The rest of the time, I'm doing projects. because he earns from the projects. Okay. So the thing is that flexibility, I think you have a management which is open to that. So the institution also gets a certain amount, and you get that ratio is normally fixed depending on what overhead you use, etc. But the thing is that as you do that, your recognition as a professor goes up. Okay, so you then identify, and you don't go all around town, take on projects which are not relevant at your this thing just because you know. So you take on projects which are going to add value to yourself, to your students, and overall to your institution. So you don't take on something which is not very relevant. You can take on things which are high social impact, or high technology impact, or high commercial impact. So that is something which you should be looking at. The other one which is there, and I don't know what your policies on that are, but I can definitely tell you that a lot of universities abroad encourage people to go on a 6 months. It's a 1 semester sabbatical. You don't get paid by your institution during that period. You will get paid by the institution you're going to work with. But whatever you do at that point of time, you're gaining substantially. Now, there is no point in telling that, you're taking 6 months leave and go and work in Dubai as a clerk in some place to make money. No. This can only come if you're going and working with... No, I'm telling you this because this is what people have done, okay? They misuse these facilities for things like that. This is if you're going to an organization which is reputed in a certain manner, which will, like I said, add value to you, add value to your students, and add value to your institution. So I'm sure that there will be companies who are prepared to take people if you have the capabilities on sabbatical for 3 months, 6 months, etc. And the advantage you will have is that they will tell you to continue with some of the work as projects for you where you can actually get your students involved. And you can actually be paying students for doing the work. Today there are many places where they get students and charge the students for doing a project. You need to move from that. Get into this thing where you pay students for that. Like, I mean, with most of the institutions I'm involved with, if there is an MTech student coming for their 6-month project or an MCA student, we pay them. Very clearly they have to be paid, we say. If they are not worth paying, they're not worth taking. So clearly that is the kind of thing. So I think faculty, you should look at it. Now there, don't expect that the management will go or the principal will go and find you that is something which you have to do as yourself. You have a friend, you have a classmate who's working somewhere, working in a good software company or a good automobile company. I met somebody from Tata Motors now, okay? Go, mechanical engineering people go and work in Tata Motors for 3 months, 6 months. I'm sure Tatas will encourage that. So look at that kind of this thing which happens, and you will find that you yourself, you see the rest of the world more. Those of you who've had some industry experience generally become good faculty. I can tell you one of the reasons why you find a different mindset in this college is because he did not have too much of academic experience. It was totally industry experience. So you look at what in one of the big things with the industry is that if you don't deliver your stuff with quality on time, you don't have a job. Here you can say that I'm padichilla in Indiana, okay, but that doesn't happen in industry. So the thing is that kind of a mindset in terms of quality, because you know every faculty member has a responsibility, and you are accountable for the lives of those young students who are coming to you. You need to make them good engineers, not just examination pass. That is a mindset change that should happen, and I think that definitely will make a change in the way you work. Any questions? This is the problem that I have when I talk to students also. Now I know why they don't ask questions. You have to encourage your students.
This is slightly off track.
Yeah, go ahead, no problem.
Then we in the state of Kerala, we started government, since you are associated with many government agencies and you have influence in the government sector. The self-financing colleges in Kerala started very late, 2001. When Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, everyone had an early mover advantage. Now again, if we have to grow as a great institute like a BITS Pilani or a VIT. There should be a see-through change in the government attitude to open up. And probably, sir, people like you can definitely...
So let me tell you on that very simple answer. You start working on the areas that you're trying to do today, you're doing today, you will get total autonomy very soon. The number of years something is there, okay? I can also tell you that I wouldn't be surprised if you can apply for a university status. It will come at some point of time, okay? That thing about all that is changing today. Privately, they all agree. Okay, they all agree that, we need to allow that, we can't have a problem, the existing universities have a problem, etc. But they don't have the guts to do it beyond a point, okay? It will happen. So I would say you should be prepared for, look, nobody today prevents you from doing more than what is there in the syllabus. Nobody prevents you from giving to the students more than what is there in the syllabus. All right? Do that. When you do that in a way, you actually are creating this thing by which people are going to say, oh, those students who come from Muthoot are completely different. And what will happen? This word will spread. There'll be more faculty who want to come here because they are seeing that the freedom they're getting. You may find people in industry who want to come back. You may find there are students of yours who've gone work for 3-4 years who want to come back. That can be created only by all of you all together. So if that happens, I'm telling you, I can tell you that you are an apt case for autonomy and for a private university. Because you have the right things falling in place today. The moment it opens up, you should go to that. Like VIT, okay? VIT and all, they grew this way only. So for us, we are not, but look at it. So you should actually, your MITS as you call it, correct? Your ATS should actually be, you should start behaving like a university today. Which means all of you should look, don't think of that's what I said, don't compare yourself with other colleges in Kerala. You benchmark yourself against the best universities around the world. And that is what you want to do. And don't say it can't be done because half the people doing that are from India only. Other parts of the world. Like I said, you go to any university, you'll find people. Again, I'm just giving you an example of, there is a very famous George Abraham, I think, a doctor. He was a doctor at Stanford. He wrote a book also. So I was actually going to Boston on some work. And I had informed a friend of mine in Singapore that I'm going, and I want to look at something with regard to autism center, as I said. And he wrote back saying that, I have a good friend of mine, George Verghese, Reggie, he will help out. And then I started corresponding with this Reggie. He has a daughter who is autistic. I didn't know about it till we started corresponding. Then I found out that he's Professor Thomas Kailath's son-in-law. Okay. Now, if you were reading the Indian Express earlier, there was somebody called Tcs George who used to write in. Tcs George's brother-in-law is Thomas Kailath. The thing is that Malayalis have a way of finding relatives around the world. Okay? You will suddenly find it somebody who's your uncle or uncle's uncle or somebody is there. So I would say start doing it, start thinking like it. So I went there and he could take me to some of the best places. I told you thinking out of the box. I'll give you one example and stop with that. Is that there's a professor at MIT at the McGovern Brain Institute. Okay? I think his name is Professor Shukla. Right? So that meeting was arranged, so I met with him. He works on how the brain functions. And nobody knew how the brain captures vision. Sound you can always do, people will allow you to test at any point of time, etc. But you're not going to allow an EEG to be done on a person who's newborn. So this professor started thinking about it, and he went back with a proposal to the NHS in the US that there are a group of people around the Delhi capital region who are born blind. About 5,000-6,000 people are there. Something genetic, they don't know what it is. And he said, I want to do an evaluation on all of them, and wherever possible, I want to correct. Do surgery for correction of vision. All right? Only condition he had with these people was, you will allow me to do EEGs with you before and after the surgery. So what happened, about 450 or 500 people in that area got vision. And he got to learn how the brain captures vision. Think completely out. I mean, nobody would think on those lines. You have to start thinking on those lines. And that did not read any guys. Just imagine American government paid for the eye surgery for 450 people and for the evaluation about 4,000 plus people. So these are things which can be done. You need to start thinking outside. That's what I said, look at local problems. You find an area, so he's been doing a lot of work in this area, so he found out about it. Otherwise, sitting in Boston, how will he do this? So he's been searching. Maybe one small newspaper article somewhere where they talk about a lot of people who are blind in a particular area. Or you look at Kerala, there are multiple areas where there's a lot of cancer cases because of the radioactive sands that are there. Start thinking of those. That's what I said. Start thinking completely in a different, look at an exponential impact that you can make. Look at small local problems and see how you can find solutions which will create this thing there. That is something which you should be thinking about. So I was telling, you should encourage students to ask questions. And you should also be asking questions. What I do with students, I don't want to embarrass teachers with that, but when I have a batch of students and they don't ask a question, I'll say, all those with starting with the name with the word B, I mean their name is with alphabet B, raise your hand and I'll say, now you ask a question. It's hard to do that with teachers, so I'm not doing that. But if you have any questions, I'm here for a couple of minutes more. I can respond. If anybody else wants to ask something, please. Yeah, please.
So may I
Yeah.
grab this opportunity? I come, myself is Dr. Mary Anthony, and come from a literature background. I've done my law also, and management and principal leadership is all very much supportive. And I took a group of students to Alapura for a painting exhibition that was going on there. Yes. Yeah. There were 37 students who volunteered themselves. So, to make it short, I would describe myself as a person driven by spontaneity and creativity. And that's what I look for from my students. So, am I right if I share with you at this point in time? I would quote Kamanyaka. Kamanyaka is an American poet who got a Nobel Prize. He says, art is all about giving space for the viewer to walk in, look around, and come up with their own suggestions. And there should be a situation for discourse. So, shouldn't that be happening in an academic scenario? And we have a principle here is promoting collaboration of technology and liberal art. So can you give me an insight about how to go about it?
Very simple. What you did, taking them to Logometar Award, was a good thing. But talk to Bose and tell Bose, the next Binale, we will have a group of people from here who will work with you in setting it up. Okay? They need help. They don't have money. I know they're running around for money. Okay? So tell them, look, I've got civil engineers with me. I've got electrical engineers with me. I've got professors who will work, but you can't send a first year or second year guy. The guy doesn't know how to fix up a chipboard partition. You'll have a problem. Okay? But you need to send people who know what should be done and help out. What is going to happen there is that when they are doing this, they are going to be interacting with people who are organizing that. The second one is some of that they will interact with the artists who are there.
International people.
Exactly. That's what. So I spent a day at the Logometar Award. Every Biennale I have visited and seen most of it. Actually, I told you this, Thomas Kailath, his wife, then Paul Raj and his wife had come. In fact, I told them to come for this and I took them around. I had to I had to give him back what he did for me years ago. But the thing is that's the best thing to do. The other one is today, if you look at the kind of work that is done by artists, there is a lot of engineering in it. There is a lot of art in it. Videography is there. They use a lot of it is there. Okay, that's something. So I remember when I was doing my, no disrespect to Kanai Kunjiraman, but when I was doing Technopark, at the board I suggested I want a big sculpture. If you visited Technopark, you've seen that of a man sitting there. And immediately some of the IAS officers said, Kanai Kunjiraman. I said, no, not Kanai Kunjiraman. He said, why? I said, because he's got sculptures all over the state. I don't want this to be another one. I want to create another one. And so he said, what are you doing? I said, I'll go to the Fine Arts College. I went there and I spoke to a couple of professors and found out who was a rank holder for sculpture the previous year. Young boy called Sumedhi Rajendran. I talked to him and I said, come out with some designs. He gave me multiple options. I chose one. I said, how much money do you need for it? 1 lakh rupees. And can you do that? Yes. So he did that. He built up that sculpture there. And then he was teaching in Delhi Public School and all that. I went to Delhi when I was starting niche fine arts program. Bachelor of Fine Arts program was starting. So I said, I tried to talk to all the artists I know. So I called him up and said, we'll go out for dinner tonight. Why don't you come? I want to talk to you about it. He said, okay. He said, no, you can send your car off. I'll come in my car. This guy comes in a Nissan petrol car. You know that Nissan petrol, that 4-wheel drive thing? I said, it's your car? He said, yes. I said, I'm not buying you dinner, you buy me dinner. Okay. So we went to a studio, came back. Okay. When I went to a studio, I realized how much he had grown during that period. But he even today tells me, my first public sculpture was yours. And every time he comes to Trivandrum, he meets me. But the thing, and this was gratitude that you get for having done something without any expectation, okay? His sculptures are on Christie's auctions. And he has a piece at Logame Taravada. He had it in the first Biennale also. So I would say just interaction with them is good. Even if you get Bose to come here and talk to the students. Get Bose. And then, I was surprised to find 11 or 12 Alleppey-based artists in that. Good work. There is one person who's done something using these poppy umbrellas. So I told them, did you charge them something? They didn't even give me a discount when I bought the umbrella, they said. Okay. So I said, that's what you should do. And I was to do a Facebook post, but unfortunately, I don't know what happened, but my Facebook page has been blocked because they need to check something. They said, I don't know what. But the thing is that kind of a thing, you establish contact with people. So you will find a lot of people there. So the other one which is there, which you all should follow, is something called Ink Talks. Ink is very similar to TED. It is an Indian version of that. But they have something called the Ink Fellows program, where some of you can apply. If you get it, it's good because they'll... INK. One, even at Kochi, I think you had attended. Ink Talks, INK. Ink Talks, Lakshmi Praruti. They do some excellent talks. But you find a lot of young people with different thought processes there. We talk about Miyawaki forests and all now. All right? One of the first guys to introduce it in India was a guy called Subhendu. I met him at one of the Ink Talks. I brought him to Trivandrum and he did 2 small forests for me. One at the International School and one at Asian School of Business. But the thing is, you meet people. You need to look at opportunities for meeting people. They have a student, when they have an Ink conference, they have a student thing which is done. They will also, it doesn't cost too much. Talk to them, find out what you can do. How can the institution tie up with them? Maybe even your colleges, maybe even the parent company, the parent organization tie up with, because they tie up with Tata's and Google and all that. But it helps tremendously. Few faculty and others attending the Ink programs will make a big deal. I'll put you in touch with them. Send me a mail. Good.
Thank you so much for inspiring insights.
You had a question.
So basically, it's about startups. What I have seen from my days in IIT also and otherwise also, if you start a startup, probably in 3 to 5 years, most of them fizzle out. So we are here trying to start an incubator where people will come in and start building their startups. How do we create an environment to ensure that it does not fizzle out? So what could be done?
If it does not fizzle out, there is something wrong. Okay? 9 out of 10 will fizzle out. All right?
Okay.
But what you should do is you should create the safety net for them.
Yes.
What happens is that I can tell you that if I am recruiting someone for a company and I found that he did a startup and he failed, I will give him extra time. And if he proves that he's good at what he's talking about, he will get the job. And he may get the job at a higher salary than what he would get for a fresher. So I would say that safety net you need to create, which means ensure that you don't allow them. So one of the big things for you there is and tie up with TIE for that. With tie up with TIE have people who mentor people, okay? Look at good mentors. You have industry friends, tell them to mentor them. But don't say, we've got 100 startups. Don't look at that. You've got 5, that's enough. Okay, you've got 10. If out of 10, all 10 succeed, there is something wrong. None of them have succeeded very well. All right? So don't do the sieving out when it starts. Let them come 1 month. But don't allow anybody to go beyond 1.5, 2 years without meeting the milestones they have done. Because if you do that, because you should remember that the entrepreneur, it's something like drugs, okay? You get into it, you don't want to get out of it. All right? So you get into it, you don't know, but you have to keep telling them you haven't achieved it, you have to move out. All right? Or you have to change this thing we say. So I give you, there was an IPS officer called Rajen Singh. He did his MBA from Wharton. He's from one of the IITs and Wharton. He did his, before that he took his IPS. He joined the IPS. He was City Police Commissioner at Trivandrum. After Wharton, he joined McKinsey for a short time. He quit. He started his own program. Okay, he wanted to do something where he tied up with the Bansal people on entrance exams. 1.5 years, it was not succeeding. He closed it down. He started another one. Continuation of that. So there are people who invested in the first one. He told them, I can't give you money back now. I'm looking at something new. That also fizzled out. Didn't work. But he didn't keep on to it until he died. Okay? He kept on to it until he thought, I can't do it anymore. So you have to allow them that, you have to encourage them to exit from that project idea and move into something new or take on a job. And you will find many a time that they don't have enough experience, which is why they are making mistakes. That is something which you all should help them to do. So ideally, the thing is not to ever repeat a mistake. As somebody who's mentoring them for you, you need to ensure that they don't make the mistakes which somebody else has done. So if you can give that kind of a thing, you'll find more success. Even though I told you that 9, you can still find a few which will succeed, but all succeeding will not work. I remember the Malayalam Manorama correspondent calling me one day and said, oh, ഒരു 10-500 സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പ് തുടങ്ങിയിട്ട് ഒരു 10-100 പൂട്ടിപ്പോയല്ലോ. ഞാൻ 100 പൂട്ടിയുള്ളൂ, 400 പൂട്ടിയാലേ ശരിയാവുള്ളൂ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. So he said, yeah, but that is how it is. Then they are not, otherwise they are not startup. Otherwise they are just any other business. You look at restaurants, we don't realize it because there's another new name coming there. You start, you close down. If it is not making money, you think, so that is where you can't get emotion. So for you, as a person who's driving this center, you can't get emotionally attached to an idea or to an individual. If you get emotionally attached, you will never allow that person to die a natural death. Where you'll keep him on ventilator until all the money is gone, everything is okay. That can't happen. So you need to know when to draw the line and say, no, I think that's enough. I think we need to start looking at options.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please. It's okay, I can hear.
I'm Dr. Janvi, I'm the head of the Department of Parent-Mediated Intervention. Sir, actually, we have a set of cognitive faculty, but when we, as a we find that even though our proposals are worth in terms of giving back to society and all those factors, we doubt whether our proposals are being given adequate value.
State government, central government.
Yeah.
State government or central government?
Both. So, whether they are being evaluated properly, or is it just that we are as self-financing models and our proposals are being turned down? Just a concern because we are being fined.
Yeah.
So let's
There is a mindset, and especially in Kerala, you will find that when it comes from a self-financing college, there's a feeling, oh no, they have enough money. Why should I give that? But it is not always that it happens. That is where, if your proposal is a run-of-the-mill proposal, and some government engineering college or some IHRD college or some Cape college gives it, they will get it. Okay? But if your project is a very unique proposal, very difficult for somebody to say no to it. So but if it's a very unique proposal, don't give it at the state level, give it at the central level. And there you need to work through this thing. I'll tell you somebody to contact. I'll put you in touch with them. So something you need to look at there is, you need to start, that's what I said, think completely different. I remember when I sat in the State Council on Science and Technology, I'd just come back from CDAC when I came to Technopark. And there was one proposal put up from University of Kerala Computer Science Department for parallel computing. And the project was 25,000 rupees per year for 3 years. And I said that CDAC is spending 32 crores over 3 years, and you're talking about 25,000 rupee parallel. Then you find out that what has happened is they have tuned it to the research fellow projects, because the presentations are not required for the 25,000 rupee. They say, we give it, if it will approve, we'll take it. Don't think on it. Don't look at what they have as a scheme. You look at and you need to identify people who sit in those committees. Talk to them. Tell them, I've got something like this coming. And think big. Like I said, think completely big. I'll just stop. I've said a couple of times, but the Center for Autism that I'm starting, I've written to many people saying that we want money. A couple of people have, many people have not. But I wrote to Ratan Tata, I'm just telling you this thing, and I had an opportunity to make a presentation with him. And you know how much money I asked him for? How much should I ask him for? Give me a number. Give me a number. How much? Then, somebody else. I asked him for 300 crores. I can't go to Ratan Tata and ask him for 1 crore and 2 crore and all that. That I'll ask George Varghese. Okay? Or Mudut, okay? But you go to Ratan Tata, you ask him for 300 crores. But I said 500 crores is what I need. But if I get 300 crores, other 200 I'll manage is what I told. Then he'll look at it. If I go to him until I want 2 crores, and he'll say, why are you wasting my time? Thing is, you need to start thinking big. Not that I've got the money, okay? But I will get something from him, I know. 5 crores I've got from UST and Suntech together have given me about 5-6 crores. Last 4 years we've been running. But the thing is to start thinking big. Our biggest problem for us, we look at that scheme over there, give only 1 lakh, we'll look at that. No. You don't look at any scheme. You start thinking of a project. Then after your project is done, then you find out who is the funding agency who will give me money for that. So you need to start thinking completely big, exponential thought process. That's what I said. It's an exponential thought process that you need. Okay? Good. Any more questions or? Yes, please. Okay. The students in please go.
Hi, sir. Sir, could you tell something more about the center we are starting for autism? I'll tell you why I specifically asked for that. Centers are there. So I worked with children with autism during my PhD. Okay. So it was related to virtual reality-based social communication skill training platform which we designed. But then I joined MITS and then I started working, expanding my PhD work. I wrote proposal to DST, but it got rejected. So I was like,
No? How much money do you want for your proposal?
Yeah, actually, I don't want. Yes, of course, I want money. But then it's like I joined here in 2017. So like it was like 4 years. I tried to extend my work, but didn't work. So I was like planning to.
Your PhD is done.
Yeah, PhD is done.
In what branch?
It is in electrical engineering from IIT Gandhinagar. So I know this area is very much important, and there is a lot of
We'll collaborate with you.
yeah things to do. But then
We'll collaborate with you.
yes, that's what I was asking for.
I'm telling you, I'll collaborate with you. No problems.
Okay.
I don't have money, but we can together find money. I don't have money because I'm actually, what I would say is, but one thing which I do is I will not do anything which I don't think is of a certain class. Okay. So we've just started on the 3rd of November. We've started an ambitious program, employability training for young adults with autism. Okay. I have 8 people who've come. These are between the age of 18 to 25. I have a girl from Cochin, a girl from Kollam, and the rest, 2 or 3 girls, and the rest are boys, 5 boys. It's an ambitious thing to get them to do that. Minimum, they should have completed class 12. And we've started that, but it's fully funded by SBI cards. We don't charge them a PIS fee. My target is to train 100 people in 2 years. The first 3 months is purely on life skills and social skills. None of them know how to get into an auto rickshaw. They can't go and buy anything from the shop on their own. We're doing that, then we will go to employability skills, then we will go to apprenticeship. But I'll put you in touch with one of the people who works very closely with me is she's full time with us. She's an advisor on my board. A young lady called Lakshmi. Lakshmi is from CET, and she was with Oracle in the US, and then she was in Oracle India. But she's been helping me a lot for the last several years. In fact, the document to make Nisha University she's the one who prepared that. So she's working with me on that area. We'll work on that. I'll also put you in touch with another young lady who came and met me yesterday. She works in Dubai. She works with a Brazilian company on certain assistive technology. There are a lot of opportunities. On autism, which autism is a subject, we'll work. We'll find something on it, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, is it okay? What did you do for Nish?
We did have a proposal specification given. It's an entry-level AAC device. Okay. So the proposals and specifications on
Akila or
Akila.
Suja? You didn't meet Suja?
No, we did have Akila, Kshitij, and
Satish just retired a few years ago.
He just retired. But we had this program on 19 where he was also Satish sir was also present.
Satish was the one who was heading that. That was a fully federal bank funded project. The Assistive Technology Center at Nish is federal bank supported. They can. You find out, we'll do that. In fact, computer science, how many people from computer science here? Good. There is a big, maybe we can work on something. We'll find out whether Muthoot wants to fund it. We'll create multiple apps. One app which is going to help in assessment of people with autism. Okay? The other one which is for running an autism center. I have a proposal done. I've actually given it to TCS now. But you want to work on it, we can work on it. But you use like for a lot of AI coming into it, maybe your MTech students can get involved. And they want to do their 6-month project on that, we can get there. And if somebody like that is involved, I'll get somebody from industry to advise. So it's just that, you just need to be talking to people and you will find ways, okay? So what we can do is that if you are going to be the person and management after they agree and all that, if you're going to be the contact point for autism projects, let everything come through one person. Then you get an overall picture of what is there, okay? So work on that. You now have ideas, okay? What I'm telling you is just think outside and open up. If you had not told me, if you had kept quiet, after I go, that is a problem with us, okay? Open up, tell. I have 2 daughters who are deaf, okay? And when it was found out that they were deaf, including, my in-laws said, I said, every girl we varula. So at some point of time, so I used to meet anybody I meet after the 3rd con, we get close, I'll say, I have 2 daughters who are deaf. Then what is the relevance of telling people about it? The relevance of telling people about it, they will tell me about something they know about that area. That is how I came to know about the Gallaudet University in the US. I visited them. That is what motivated me to take niche to that level of excellence. So when niche was set up, we said we will do it with international standards only. I'm launching a new program on autism called Parent-Mediated Intervention. Totally free. I'm looking for somebody to support it. Where we are looking, and I've already got 10 to 15 children are supported. I've got friends to put money into that. That is where we bring in parents for 3 weeks. We train them. The parent becomes a therapist. Children between 2 to 6. Because many people can't afford. So they become the therapist. We train them for 3 weeks. They go. Every week we do an online session with them. Once a month they come for 1 day with us. These are all things which come out of talking. This program is nothing which we have found out. University of Southern California does a program. When they heard about it, we came back with devices. It's the employability training program. Basically, the idea for that came from the Israeli army. If I start talking, I'll talk too much on that. But the Israeli army, and that came about because in fact, when I went on USD work to Israel for some work, I just said, I'm coming 2 days. Whenever I travel for anyone, any of my clients, I tell them 2 days for autism. That's what I've been doing for the last 6-7 years. So I told the local person there, I want to meet people who've taken people with autism into the army. So he said, okay. And so I said, I'm coming 2 days earlier. They arranged, I went, met, said, we are going to meet the guy who's responding. Just before entering the door, he said, I did not tell you purposely, but you're going to meet somebody who was the chief of Mossad till 2 weeks ago. Okay? And I said, why didn't you tell me earlier? If I tell you earlier, you will tell somebody, then you may not be able to come or whatever, but that's why I said. So when met him, found out, he brought the entire people together, what was there, and individuals can make a big impact. And the impact on that whole thing came out from his wife, who was an audiologist. And she kept telling him, do something, these children have intelligence. And he said, what can I do? The way he became Mossad chief, he said, before I could even, she could congratulate me. When I told her this, she said, now you can do something for people with autism. And the next day, then she told her she told him what to do. Identify 10 senior people in Mossad who have children with autism. Got them together. We are exchanging ideas. What was the most important thing for anybody in Israel is that if you don't join the Israeli army, it looks like you're not a full person, man or woman. Okay? You have some problem because of which you couldn't join the army. So they said, can we make that the thing? So he said, good. He called up the chief of army and said, find me 10 army officers who have children with autism. Came together, now you'll launch a program. The army officer, the Mossad person, and the best occupational therapists in Israel got together. They launched a program. Israeli army has over 300 people with autism on their rolls. And they're doing some excellent. And after doing that 1 year or 6 months there, they joined companies like Microsoft and others, doing very specialized work, software testing, image processing. Thank you. I think I've taken a lot more time than I should have.
Respected guest of honor, Mr. G. Vijaya Raghavan, founder, CEO, Technopark, Trivandrum. Our executive director, Mr. George Bergesa, principal, Dr. Neelakandan PC, vice principal, Dr. Chiku Abraham, dear faculty, colleagues, dear friends. It is indeed a proud moment for MITS, where we have been fortunate enough to hear from the visionary who changed the information technology landscape of Kerala. The man behind the conceptualization, planning, implementation, and marketing of India's first electronic technology park, Trivandrum, Technopark, one of the best technology centers in India. I am very happy to express my sincere gratitude to Vijay Raghavan sir for taking his time off his busy schedule to be with us, to interact with us, to open up to some of our queries, and gracing this occasion, sharing his valuable insights with us. Thank you very much, sir. The Executive Director of MITS, Mr. George Burgess, he's the person behind the success of our college. And I understand that it is through Sir that Vijaya Raghavan Sir has come and has taken his time to meet us and talk to us. So thank you, George Sir, for being a part of this function. Our principal, Dr. Neelakandan PC, is the constant source of encouragement and support for all our initiatives and ventures. And he always gives us opportunities to meet great people, talk to them and interact with them. Thank you very much, sir. I would also like to thank our Vice Principal, Dr. Chiku Abraham, who is also a part of this function. I would also like to extend sincere thanks to all of my colleagues, friends who have assembled here and interacting with Vijay Raghavan sir. I am sure each one of you had a fruitful time hearing to our distinguished speaker. Thank you very much.
It's okay. Quickly, I mean, one person still which branch and the others raise their hand accordingly. Electronics and communication, good.
Electronics and communication.
Mechanical.
Say, how many mechanical people? Okay. The others?
Civil.
Civil. Good. Okay.
Electrical.
Good. Okay. Let me just ask, what is the biggest problem in your minds today? The biggest question that you have in your mind today about yourself.
Sir, our future plans.
So what is it that you're looking at?
Sir, I am trying to get into defense. So I planning to write CDS exam and to go to defense.
You are now in the final year.
No, sir, which side?
Pre-final. Okay. Defense, there are certain institutions which specialize in that area, who train people specifically for their defense services. You should look at one of those, huh? And definitely talk to people, otherwise you'll find. So jobs, anyone else got anything else in their mind? Okay. Sit down. Okay. So what are you doing for that? Which branch are you in? Electrical. So what MOOC courses have you looked at?
I have done the robotics course, just initially by attack. You know, get know more about the industry.
When is your placement starting?
It's already on.
On.
It's finally or almost.
Any of you placed? All of you placed? All of you placed. Then there's no worry, no? All of you placed?
No, these are the mechanical.
Oh, these are final years. Where all are you all placed? Tech Mahindra
Syrian.
and Byju's. Okay. Wipro and Cognizant.
Tcs.
Lay the branch. Okay.
TCS cognitive
That's good.
How will you select your company? Important for you all also. All of you got more than one. How will you select which company to go to? What is one thing? Tell me one thing and the other person don't repeat that. What is most important when you say?
I got selected in Byju's and Tech Mahindra. So obviously I go for Tech Mahindra because Byju's is a sales role.
Sit down.
I go for Tech Mahindra.
Okay. Because that role, the job is something which you don't like there, correct?
More field.
Pardon?
It is an electronics company.
Agreed. Good. Okay.
So branding and employment, environment, all of it.
What do you look at? Okay.
After I'm looking for growth, we take a
So, okay. Good. Work atmosphere. What do you mean by work atmosphere? How many hours of work are you all prepared to put in once you join the company? How many hours? Company says 8 hours. How many hours of work are you prepared to put in?
I work on based on the target.
Okay. Okay, a couple of things on selecting a company. One, this is a very old saying which all of you would have heard. If you take on a job that you love, you don't have to work for the rest of your life. Because then it's not work. You're just enjoying what you're doing. Okay? So don't look at a job because the salary is higher. Don't look at a job because the brand is a known brand. Look at a job where you will enjoy what you are doing and something which you like. The worst thing to do is to take a job because you think there is not too much of work to do. Many people, like I've heard people telling, PSC Pariksha, that means you don't have to do work after that, okay? So very clearly you have to be prepared to work. All right? And it's not 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours, it could be more. There could be days when you may not sleep at night because you have to deliver something on target. And at that point of time, don't say work-life balance is not there, etc. Because for you, the first 3 years of work is very, very critical. Because that is the time when you build up your own strengths. Actually, in the first 1.5 to 2 years, you are not giving anything to the company. You are only taking from the company. You are learning. So you have to take up a job where you get the best learning opportunity. Okay? That is something which is important. So it's nothing wrong about going to a small company or a big company. Find out from this. So sometimes they'll say, no, we can't tell you what kind of job you will give. You can be posted anywhere. There is a, like for you, you said, you want to go take Mahindra because you're going to be doing, you know what kind of work you're going to do. Byju's, they're going to use you in sales, is it? Don't take it. You'll have I have nothing against Byju's. Don't take it, okay? The other one is the right choice because on the other one, there are a lot of practices which are problems. And as an engineer, you don't need to get, I started as a sales engineer, okay? My first visit to OEM and all were as a sales engineer trying to sell my multimeters there, okay? But the thing is that unless you're selling a technical product, then you need a class 12 person to be selling that package. So your choice is the right one, okay? So very clearly, when you choose a job that you will like and you will enjoy doing. The other one which is important is that don't say, no. Look at it, study, find out talk to people in those companies. Find out what, you will have your seniors or others who are working there. Find out what it is. If they say, paniya, take that job. Because in your initial years, you have to slog it out. Once you get married and then, you have a family and all, you will find it difficult. But if you grow very well during that period, it will make a big impact for you. So take on a job that you will like and where you think you are contributing something. That is one thing for you. The other one for all of you, learn to continuously learn. Which is why I asked you about MOOC related things, okay? I think your college encourages all that. So look at it. Don't do it because, I'm looking at that look at you. So what you all should do, at least for those who are in the pre-final, where you know that these are the companies who will come to your place for campus placement. You start planning now, which are the companies I want to be looking at for a job. There are many names they gave. You say, these are the companies I want to be looking at for a job. Then you look at what is it that they are looking for. And you prepare yourself in that area. Don't expect the college to train you in that area. Something which you must do on your own. Do projects in that area. And then what happens is when you go for an interview, the thing which any interviewer wants to hear is something which they know very well or they use a lot. So that itself will be a good thing. So start thinking on those lines, plan in those lines and take it forward. Anyone here with extracurricular activities? Sports. I interviewed somebody from Muthoot a couple of weeks ago. Did some work in the flood relief and all that she had said. Any extracurricular activities, you must continue to get involved. You dance, you sing, you paint, continue with it. I was interviewing somebody, I don't know from where, and she said she paints pictures. Now it's very easy because they're all, you interview on it's a virtual interview and they're at home. So I said, show me one of your paintings. And then she thought I was not serious. Are you serious about it? I said, of course I'm serious about it. Just show me one of your paintings. She brought a beautiful painting. Okay. The interview did not go on very much long after that because she is a person who has creative thoughts. She will be a good person. So any extracurricular activities you have, pursue it as a hobby. Okay? The worst thing to do is to say, I like art and so I want to be an animation artist. So I'll go and join one of these arena courses for animation. Don't do that. A lot of it you can learn on your own. Okay? But continue with many of those things as a hobby and that will help you out. Anything specific you want to know, ask.
Can I ask you a question? You know, sir, because we have not given you an introduction. I just told you, because this was not planned earlier.
Yes.
Do you know, sir?
CEO of Techno.
No.
Only planning from.
Okay, he used to be. Okay. That, he
So-
was the one who set up the Techno.
How many people here from computer science or software area? At least 5 of you getting jobs in software companies, correct? Who's the father of Indian software industry? Not me, don't look at me. Somebody else. Very distinguished person. He died last year. Pardon?
Today is the time.
What's his name?
Some colleagues.
Not some FC Kohli. Good. Happy that somebody from this answered that. Most people can't. Fakir Chand Kohli, FC Kohli. He died last year. He was active till his last day. Okay, he was a TCS founder. Okay, and somebody who's helped me a lot. But a lot of people will give other company names. But TCS was and continues to be the largest, one of the most ethical companies. And he was you know what his designation was originally? General manager. So don't also go after designations, okay? Designations can fool you. I remember on my first job, I worked with HCL's instruments division. So Mr. Nadar and the other directors were there when we were meeting. We said, look, we go to I go to IIT and that other guy's got a designation as regional manager. There's another guy who's got an area manager. Mine is sales engineer. So there's a problem. So what Nadar told me? It depends on where the region is. So his region most probably will be Mount Road. Mount Road is Anna Sale in Chennai. Okay, so you can say regional manager MG Road. Okay, but you are the sales engineer, whole of IIT and half of Chennai and whole of Kerala is with you. That is all. If you don't want, don't put the designation in the card, that's all. So don't run after designations also, okay? Designations can be very, very misleading. Okay, I took the designation, I decided on my designation when I was going to head Technopark, and I decided on CEO. So I say I'm the first CEO in Kerala. The designation of Chief Executive Officer was not, it was only Managing Director and MD. So somebody asked me, why did you? I said, if I had written Managing Director, some IAS fellow would have taken that position. Chief Executive, not today, but I'm talking of 30 years ago. Okay. So I wrote Chief Executive Officer. I was only 31 at that time. Okay. So you need to know about anybody from Trivandrum in this group? No. Cochin, all of you from Cochin, correct? Any of you in Cochin in this group? Mahatma Gandhi statue in Cochin, where can you see? Anywhere else? Good. Good to know. Is it relevant to you? Relevant to know where Mahatma Gandhi statue in Cochin is? Imagine you are going with there's an important customer who is coming here with your company, And you have to take that person out and he says, I haven't seen a Gandhi statue, can you show me one? Or when you're driving on the road, and you're from Cochin, okay? Whose statue is it? And you said you don't know because you've seen only one side of it. It is good to know about the landmarks in your city, the history of your city. It is always good to open anecdotal conversations. So one of the things which I do whenever I see an American is I tell them, if it were not for Kerala coast, you would never have been in America, because Christopher Columbus was in search of the Kerala coast. And he landed there, he thought it was India, that's why he called the locals Indians. The natives were called Indians because of that. There's another interesting thing which is also there. You know, when the United States of America wanted to set up their first embassy in India, during the East India Company, they wanted to do it in Alleppey. But the East India Company said no, because it was not under the British, they said Calcutta. So you have to know about the history of your place. How many of you visited the last Biennale in Cochin? Biennale? Good. Next year there will be one. You must visit it. Because it's going to be one of the things on which Cochin will be known around the world. So you have to know the history of your place. Two groups of people whom you will never be able to repay for what they have done for you. Somebody on this side. Parents and? Teachers. Good. That's something which is important. So how many of you called up one of your teachers and told them that I got a job? Good. In the college or school? Both. Very good. Very good. Some values, which is good. So I think it's the training that is there. Values are very important. A company what is a company looking at you in you? Looking at in you whether you are a good human being. Okay? Whether you will take care of your family. Whether you respect your teachers. If you do all that, then you're a good employee. If you can't look after your family, there is no way you look after your company. The best advertisement for that is, I know earlier on television there used to be an advertisement of Keytex. You know, this old man going down the stairs and his dhoti gets loose and the son tells him something, okay? And then he goes inside and he's looking at an old album. In Kochi, I'll come there. I'll reach there in about 15, half an hour, okay? Half an hour. Thank you. So those are things which are important. It's good. You have to be a good human being. Very honest, okay? Integrity is very important. Integrity in your work, integrity in the way you behave. Values are important for you. These are things which you should keep in mind as you go. Once you're a good human being, then the rest of it will automatically come through. Any questions specifically? Yeah. Sit down and ask, don't worry.
So myself, I'm Nijma, I'm from Civil.
From? Civil, yeah.
So I'm looking to research field like DRDO and ISR, Optum and DPET. So they are basically taking students from GATE score. Based on their GATE score or from students from IIT and NIT. So can you suggest something so that I can do better?
I would say prepare for the exams for the GATE scores. That is important. You'll have to prepare for those exams are driven by certain subjects, etc. Look at that. Try to do as many of the previous exams as possible. That is the way to look at that. Because the number of civil positions are there. Okay, DRDO and even space require civil engineers. Only the numbers they want will be lower. They probably look at more mechanical engineers, electronic engineers, etc. But civil engineers are required. So look at that. I say look at that. So DRDO, there are several things which will come up. Because most of them require structural and other areas. Do that. If for some reason you don't get through, go for your MTech and then continue with that.
So which MTech do I need to go for?
It depends. It depends on what is your area of interest. Okay. So like for example, don't get into something like roads or infrastructure and all that. Doesn't help. But you get into things like structural. Okay. Find out what kind of work. That's what I was telling earlier. What kind of work the institutions that you're targeting are looking at. Based on that, you start doing specialization in that area. And generally people who plan well will end up getting a job of their choice.
Good aspiration.
Good. The best thing to do is, I think that some batches from your book going to NPOL and all that. Talk to somebody in NPOL, get that. Or other one, as part of today, as part of your placements, what do you all do? As part of placements, you will just call the companies who are recruiting you, correct? You also find out people from, like she wanted to go to DRDO labs. Find out 2-3 people in DRDO labs. Tell them to come here and talk to you all. Interact with them. Everyone likes to talk to students. You talked about Mr. Kohli. I took him to the international school once, okay? So I said, I want to talk to them. While going, I told him, he said, which students? I said, I need address. I said, school students, I can't talk. So I said, well, I've never spoken to school students in the last 30, 40 years. Engineers, I can talk. Or engineers. I said, no, the schools. What do I say? You don't talk. You sit there, they'll ask questions. And then after that, he came back. This is the most enjoyable time that I had. Because school students ask questions which are very innocent. But you get somebody to come, ask questions. Prepare and then ask them questions. So look at it. You have the advantage that you've got NPOL, which is a DRDO lab. Find out from there. They will always find others who can come and talk to you. Or talk to the person who looks after recruitment there. They will come and talk to you what is required. Okay? Good. Any other questions? I promised I'll come in some other time at leisure and spend some time with you all. Okay. If you have any questions, okay. Otherwise, thank you very much. Nice meeting all of you. Okay.